But I'm now joined live from the front line by IDF reservist and Jewish Israeli rights activist Rudy Roshman. Rudy, thank you for joining me. You are there, you're in the IDF. What message would you like to give to British people who went marching yesterday chanting pro-Palestinian slogans?
Well, something that everyone needs to understand is that Hamas doesn't really represent the Palestinians. They're on their almost 20th year of their 4-year term. Neither does the Palestinian Authority. There's no freedom of speech. So a lot of people are like, well, where are the Palestinians speaking up? Well, they can't speak up. If Palestinians were to speak up, they would be beheaded and they would disappear. So number one, Hamas does not represent the Palestinians. Number two, the majority of those people in those protests are not Palestinians themselves. And when Palestinians were dying by the thousands in the Syrian civil war, no one was talking about that. When they're by the hundreds of thousands of refugee camps in Lebanon and in Jordan, they don't talk about that. When they're suffering on the border of Gaza and Egypt, they're under Hamas and the Palestinian Authority, we don't hear anything. So they only care about Palestinian suffering, which is legitimate, but only when it has to do with Israel. And of course, they take the entire context out of what is happening and how Israel is trying to defend itself, and unfortunately in war, which is why we try to prevent war, there are casualties, and they cherry pick instances of Palestinian suffering in order to push an agenda that the source of the problem in the world is the Jews, and the world is obsessed with the Jews. All the extremes, the far right, the far left, the far capitalists, the far communists, the far white supremacists, the far black supremacists with Farrakhan, they all come to one conclusion, and that the Jew is the source of the problem. So I'm not surprised seeing these protests, but those that truly want to support the Palestinians need to understand there is no reality where Israelis or Palestinians will disappear. And if you truly want to support the Palestinians, we need to bring the populations together for us to transcend our conflict, not to create zero-sum game narratives for us to be in an all-out war.
And that's obviously very important, and the differentiation you make between Hamas and the Palestinians is crucial. How are you trained, if you have to go into Gaza, to differentiate between a member of Hamas and a civilian?
So this is very difficult, but when you go into warfare in what is civilian areas, every single time that Israel has had to go into Gaza, they were able to clear the area, give warnings before for people to leave, so that going in, the person that you're going to come across is most likely going to be a terrorist, because civilians should have cleared the area. But if we recognize that there's a civilian, we don't want to have to take life. Palestinians are cousins of Jews. I mean, even 30 to 60% of Palestinians descend genetically from Jews that were forcibly converted to Islam and Christianity over time and Arabized over time. So we're much more related. But, you know, Palestinians have 24 hours to evacuate, if not more. We have less than 24 seconds to evacuate when we're being shot at. So the world needs to understand the impossible situation that we're in. You know, if a person was to push another person into a fire, the cause of death may be the fire, but the murderer is the person that pushed them. When Hamas shoots rockets onto Israel, we have no other choice but to fire back. Maybe the airstrike is what is killing the innocent Palestinians, which we don't have the intention to, but the murderer is Hamas. They forced our hand to have to defend ourselves and are putting us in this impossible situation in order to sell this narrative to the world that Palestinians are dying. And they are dying, but it's them that is creating it.
Thank you very much, Rudy.